Man versus gun.
Автомат Клешнокова модернизированный. 1959 год. Hello shooters, Tie Iron here. Tie Iron channel, Tie Iron blog. This is the first installment of the Man vs. Gun series, and this is the AKM stamped receiver model, the AK-47. This was developed in 1959 as a modernized, a way to modernize the AK. It's about 1.5 pounds lighter than the AK-47. Now, here's a disclaimer with the Man vs. Gun series. If you think that your particular firearm is the best on the planet and needs no improvement, blah, 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 this series is not for you. I don't believe there's a firearm on the planet that can't use improvement to help it interface better with the human being, particularly long arms. Small handguns maybe so, but not long arms yet. So Man vs. Gun, all we're going to talk about, we're not talking about reliability, accuracy. We're talking about how the firearm interfaces with a human. So with every long arm that we're going to talk about, there's going to be points that that are not optimum. In fact, every firearm we're going to do has points that is not optimum, and we're going to point those out because they do hurt overall efficiency. We're going to start at the butt stock. We're going to work our way forward. The butt stock on the AK is slippery. All right, let me, if you can see it in the light here, I've made this AK to look like a battlefield pickup. It's completely stock. It's a Romanian model. There's nothing on it that wouldn't have come off the factory line. No modifications whatsoever. I just made it look beat up. It's also my loaner AK because I don't care if people beat it up more. But the butt stock is slippery. On any type of firing scenario, you come up and the butt stock slips, which is not a good thing. Okay, we'll move beyond that. The trigger pull on typical AK, I don't think it's that bad. We're not talking Camp Perry here, but for what it is, the trigger pull is not that bad. It's longer than maybe it needs to be, but it's not that bad. There's a lot worse. Like your typical HK-G3 or HK-91 is a lot worse than your typical AK. The selector lever is not in a good spot, and there's a couple ways to take it off. This is completely stock. I haven't bent it out to make it easier. It's not the easiest thing to flick on and off. My wife can't flick it off like that. She can if she does it like this, but she can't if she does it like this. So some of the smaller statured people or weaker people will have a problem with a typical AK selector. It gets even worse when you try and operate the AK from the left side. You got to bring your hand back here to operate it. So the selector is a downfall of the AK series. That's just a fact. The sights are not as bad as what I used to once think they were. I used to think that the AR sights, like on an M1 or an M1A, M1 carbine, we had a peep rear and a post front, but my times with a stock M4 and a stock SKS and a stock AK, there's not that much difference on the snapshots. So it really comes down to, I think the biggest difference is trying to get the selector off. It's easier to get a selector off on an SKS where the safety's down here, or an M4 obviously where it's in a better place under your thumb. So got no problem with the sights. They work as you need them to. This is not a precision firearm. You're not going to be getting half-inch groups at 100 yards. So the sights work just fine. Up here at the front, the muzzle brake. This is a typical AKM slant muzzle brake. The way these rifles are set up, you can either set it up for a right-handed shooter or you can set it up for a left-handed shooter. You can't set it up for a right and left-handed shooter, and this is what I mean by that. If I don't have any type of muzzle brake in, and I take the shot, the rifle's going to go up and to the right. It's going to want to come straight back because of recoil, but then because of the way my body is, see, I've got contact on the left side of the gun more than I have contact on the right side of the gun. So the gun's going to also go to the right. So the gun through recoil is going to come up, and because I'm shooting right shouldered, it's going to want to go to the right. So it's going to do both. It's going to come up and to the right. And the Russians developed this slant brake. And we've done the same thing with the A2 brake too. The M16A2 brake. The bird cage, it has you can set it for a right-handed or left-handed shooter. This works fine for a right-handed shooter. It helps keep push the muzzle down to the left, so it counteracts the up and to the right, so it helps to keep it on target. The problem is, with this slant brake, any slant brake, now when I come to the left shoulder, if I didn't have any brake at all, remember the gun's going to want to come straight back from recoil, and then because I'm shooting from the left shoulder, it's going to want to go over, so it's going to do both. If I'm shooting left-handed and there's no muzzle brake, it's going to go up and to the left. But remember, I've got this slant brake set up for a right-handed person. So now, the gases, as they exit the muzzle, they're going to force the muzzle down and to the left. And there's nothing I can do to keep it on target. Maybe if you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can. But on my ARs that have an A2 type brake, I put it right at the center, so there's no left or right bias. And that solved the problem. This really shows up when you do left-handed, 10 rounds at 5 yards, and as fast as you can do it. This makes it almost impossible for me to be able to do it from the left shoulder. From the right shoulder it helps, left shoulder it sucks. So this design of either right or left is a bad design. I don't think there should be right or left on any long arm, fighting long arm. It should be neutral so we can use it from both shoulders equally. Magazine changes. Okay, the AK rocks the magazines in and out. We all know that. For doing speed loads, this is not as good as if you had to push the magazine straight in like an AR. The rocking mechanism does hurt because you have to get that front lug in there first and then get the rear lug in. So it does slow things down a bit. Another thing that slows things down is this donkey dong. They call this a donkey dong. This donkey dong stock will slow down mags because you can actually notice every time I do it, I hit the stock with the mag. But the donkey dong does help when shooting this thing. I do like to shoot with my arm out there farther. I can't with the AK like this because I'll burn the snot out of my hand. So it does help to have that that vertical kind of foregrip thing going on for shooting. For magazine changes, not the best. Now let's go back to magazine changes. Let's actually talk about malfunctions. Type 1 malfunction. Remember what we do is we hit the magazine, and if we can't knock it out, we're good to go. We go right to the charging handle. So this is a fine design for doing Type 1 malfunction clearance drills. Type 3 malfunction clearance drills. This is a really good design too. This rocking design. And this is what I mean by that. These are two different types of 308 magazine. I'm using 308 because it's larger and easier for you to see. This is for an AR 308. This is for an FNFAL. And this is what it looks like when you have a Type 3 malfunction. This is the rounds that are, there's already one in the chamber, so this is one's trying to get into the chamber along with it. This would be where the feed ramp is, my finger here. With a firearm that rocks out, like a FNFAL, just like an AK, it rocks in and out. When you rock it out, it just pivots out and it comes out really nice and easy. You don't have to exert any additional pressure or force on the magazine to get it out to clear a Type 3 malfunction. On the AR or any other type of just straight insert, it is a problem because you can't rock it out, and so you got to pull it up and actually pull it through the feed lips in order to get through the to get it out of the gun. So from a Type 3 malfunction clearance standpoint, straight insert magazine is worse than a rocking magazine. Rocking magazine is superior for doing Type 3 malfunction clearance drills. For doing speed loads, the straight in is superior to the locking type. Because the locking type's a 1-2 affair. You got to get the front lug in first. You got to get the front lug in first before you can put the rear lug in. On a straight in magazine, you just stick it in, more like a handgun magazine. Okay, the charging handle on an AK. It's not in the worst position, not in the best, but it's not in the worst either. You can do it either coming under the bottom or coming over the top, or like in the prone, doing a Type 3, it's easier for me to just come up here and do it with that hand. Left-handed. The charging handle is not in a bad position at all. The AK, from that standpoint, is set up for a left-hander better than it is a right-hander. So you lefties out there, and you guys that do practice with both shoulders, I'm sure you know that already. Charging handle set up really nice for a left-hander on the AK. Okay, that's my thoughts on the AK. After I'm done yakking, you'll be able to see the firing drills, and then there's going to be some bloopers and some outtakes or whatever in case you guys want to watch those. Go to my blog. I'll post a link below, and that'll have the spreadsheet where it has all the times for all the drills that we've done, and it'll keep log of all the rifles that we do too, so you can check out which rifle's better at this particular, whether it's a Type 1 or Type 3, or which one's fastest to get rounds on target at 5 yards, or which one's better for doing multiple targets, close range. It'll all be on there. Anyhow, appreciate you watching. If you like it, hit the like. If you don't like it, hit the dislike. If you have any questions or comments, post them below or post them on my blog. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as I can. Again, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Be safe. Have a good day.
Hey, what do you lube your AK with?
I don't lube AK, but I lube myself with vodka. Na zdrowie. Okay, here we're doing headshots. 25 meters at the beep. The biggest problem here is the slick buttstock, and the selector is hard to maneuver. If you can see, I'm wearing my plate carrier there, and sometimes it kind of hits in the center of it, sometimes it kind of slips around to the side, and here's the results. Got good hits. Here's Type 1. Getting around the other side to get the charging handle can be a problem. You can see it's easily done, but if you had to design a firearm, you want to do a little better job of where to put the charging handle. But with practice, obviously, you can get it to work. There's the results, good hits. Okay, here's speed loads. Now you'll notice I take the magazine out on the way to the pouch. I also, the last two I do where I use the magazine to hit the old magazine out. It doesn't seem to be any faster for me. Maybe it's faster for you. But I'm able to get faster times by taking the magazine out first. Here I use the magazine to hit the old one out. Same on this one too. Use the magazine to hit the old one out. But it's slower for me than when I take the magazine out on the way to the pouch. I think there's less fumbling around in the magazine well area. This is a pain in the rear. Doing a Type 3 on an AK in the prone, the best way that I've found to do is you have to use both hands for different reasons. The wind is going to pick up right here, and it's going to take my camera for a roll. Kind of sucks, but luckily there was no damage done to the camera or the tripod. Here's the last one on the right side. Okay, here I go to work on the left side, and this is where the times are a little bit misleading. It's easier to do a Type 3 left-handed with an AK than it is right-handed, because all the controls are right here on the left side. I don't have to switch hands, even in the prone. One thing you do have to be aware of when you shoot the AK left-handed is that if you do grab the magazine well, that you keep your thumb pointed straight at the target and no higher than the magazine well itself, because if you creep it up there a bit, you'll get bit by the bolt. I've done that once. That's the phrase, that's the story. You only do it once, and then you learn. I only turned the helmet cam on once left-handed. My bad. I got two cameras going, the timer, and sometimes I forget to get everything going in the right direction. But again, it's easier to do the Type 3 with the left hand, even though the times don't reveal that. It's slower for me to get hits left-handed than it is right-handed. Good hits, though. 5 yards, 10 rounds. It made it in less than 2.5 seconds, and all the rounds are in the center circle there. Good to go. Here's the 1 to 5. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1. And you'll see that it has all good solid hits. AK does well there. The AKM does. It's light, it's handy, it's lively, it swings well. The open sights are kind of like a handgun, easy to use up close and fast. Good hits on the first target there. Good hits on the second target there. There's two hits there. One of them is a piece of tape that's given a shadow. If you stop the tape and look at it close, you'll see that. Good hits there and good hits there.
All good hits.
So the AK accounted itself well there. Okay, bloopers. This is the first time I'm doing on the camera Type 3 from the left shoulder. I'm going to say that again. Type 3 from the left shoulder. Making sure the camera's set up right, making sure I got the timer ready to go, the gun's ready to go, and this is the first time I'm doing it left shoulder. Get the shot off, get a good hit, and then I realize, oh, hiss! I didn't do left shoulder. Check this one out here. Oh, yeah.
Автомат.
I do that to take a take.
Автомат кличниково модернизированный. 1959 год.
I wasn't happy with that. I kind of flubbed it.
Автомат.
Anyhow, hope you enjoyed it.